Hi friends, it's Kayla Moran and welcome back to the Let's Get Candid podcast. Happy Thursday, happy November. How's everybody doing? I can't believe we are officially in the home stretch. 2 more months and it is going to be a new year. And let me just tell you, I have a really good feeling about 2023. I know I said that last year too, going into year 24 and 2022, and I just even more so feel that this year going into year 25 and 2023. I'm so excited to do a year in review and my vision board and talk about my goals and intentions for the new year with you guys in a few weeks, like I did last year, because I really enjoyed that episode and you guys did too. But I've already started thinking a little bit about it because I like to set those intentions around my birthday, which is the end of November, and kind of get a head start into the new year and not do it in January when everyone's doing it, because it's a lot easier to get sidetracked and fall off when there's just this pressure to do it instead of doing it for myself. I don't know if that makes any sense. But anyway, what a month October was. Let me just say, I'm really glad it's November. I already in just the 2 days that it's been November, I've felt such a shift. And October was just wild for me, and I was really candid with you guys in my intros the last couple of weeks, sharing a little bit what was going on, and it meant the world to me to hear feedback from my guests and my audience that they really appreciated my intros and me sharing the realities and the behind the scenes of what's really going on, and show that I don't have it all together and that the ups and the downs come in waves, and it's all just about trusting the process. So I'm really glad that I get to share that with you guys and that it is resonating and you feel seen, because my goal is always to help others, and I'm really glad that I'm doing so. But yeah, I'm really glad October's over. Halloween was a lot of fun. I was Poison Ivy. If you haven't seen my costume, head to my Instagram. It's linked in the show notes so you can check out my costume. I had a lot of fun. I went out with my friend Elizabeth. On Friday, we celebrated her new agency, Jude the Agency. It's linked in the show notes as well. And then we went out Friday night, and then me and her went out for Halloween as well on Saturday night. And it was so fun. Got to run into some friends, hung out with her friends, and we just had a really great time. Got home at 5 a.m., but it was worth it. It was so worth it. And I'm really glad I dressed up as Poison Ivy. That's something I've been wanting to do for years, and I finally made it happen, because now that I'm back in Miami, I can go a little bit sexier with my costumes, and it was a lot of fun. So already planning next year's, but I'll keep it hidden just like I did this time, and you're just gonna have to wait and see. But yeah, November is finally here. It's my birthday month. I'm turning 25 this year, and I have a really good feeling. Just like I do about this episode, I'm so excited to introduce you to this week's guest, but really fast, let's do a suck and sweet of the week. So my suck of the week is that I am just overwhelmed at work. I'm learning a whole new practice area. I've never once really been interested in litigation, and I did clerk in litigation in law school, but I was doing property insurance, and this is completely different. This is personal injury and mostly negligence cases, and some complex civil litigation, civil theft, conversion, and dealing with police work and police cases and things like that. So it's definitely not at all what I expected or wanted to do, but I'm really thankful for the experience. But it's just a big an adjustment for me to learn it all, because it's like learning a whole new language. Even though I went to law school for 3 years and I took the bar exam, I know some, but I don't know a lot. And I knew that was going to happen. I knew it was going to be an adjustment. I knew that the first few years is always a learning curve. It's part of it. Everyone goes through it. And actually, one of my really good friends today texted me, I think it's tough being a lawyer anywhere, no matter what, if you're in a small firm or big law like he is, or you're going off on your own like me, or, no matter which way you look at it, it's really tough to be a lawyer, especially a first year when you don't know anything and you're constantly being told you don't know anything. But I'm really grateful for the support system that I have built and the friends I have who are going through it alongside me, and we can talk about it and vent and give each other pep talks when needed and be shoulders to cry on when needed. And it's been really, really nice to cultivate that group of friends and have a social life. So I think my sweet of the week is that I've really found a really solid group of people, and a lot of my closest friends don't live in Miami now, which is hard, but I'm so grateful that with everything that happened in October for me and how hard of a month it was for me just emotionally and mental health wise, and I was very open about that on social media. I had several hour-long phone calls with a couple of my friends, a couple of catch-up chats in person, and it felt really good to know I have that support system, and I'm little by little building that support system for myself here in Miami. It's weird growing up here. Like, I know so many people in Miami, but it's like I'm reintroducing myself into the world and meeting new people, and because I'm a whole new person. I'm a very different person than the person I was when I was growing up here and going to school here. So I have to start all over, but I feel like I'm making a really good group of friends. I mean, it's not a friend group, just like a really good circle of people around me, all individuals, but I'm just not a friend group person, and that's okay. And I really want to talk more about that in a future episode. But yeah, my sweet of the week is I feel really good about the friendships I'm cultivating and the people in my life. And I just feel like October was hard, but it really gave me the opportunity to refocus and prioritize what I want and check myself and see if I'm still in alignment with myself and my future vision for me. And I know that I am now. And I feel like I'm just going to continue getting more and more aligned as I continue to get older and to grow and learn. And as I enter age 25 and 2023, which is why I feel really good about it. And I'm not one to swear by astrology, but my co-star is always scarily on point, really, really scarily on point every time. And it's funny because it usually just validates how I'm already feeling. And I've been telling my friends, I feel something coming. And I was looking at my co-star last night and I screenshotted it to my friend Jordan, who I went on my bar trip in Europe with. I'm so grateful for her. And we were like, holy shit, yeah, this is going to be a big year. I can sense it. I already could before I read it, but then kind of having an insight maybe into what it could be was interesting. So if you've never done that, I don't know how into it you are, or if you will allow it to, guide you and control you, because that's not healthy. But I think just having it kind of in the back burner, as a way to be something to think about. I think it's really cool. And my human design, I've talked about that as well. And I'm really excited for a future episode with someone who reads human design charts for you. But having mine read and being more in tune with my body and my mind and my gut, because that's my authority is my gut. I'm sacral. Learning that about myself, my human design, has been really, really cool. So I just think October was a year of learning. And I'm really excited to see where November, the end of this year, and the new year take me. And I'm excited to bring you guys along for the ride. Talking about growing up and growth and figuring out what you want and being in alignment and discovering your passions and building a life for yourself. This week's guest has done all of that and so much more at the tender age of 23. And it's really cool to have a friend like that in my life. I love surrounding myself with people who are ambitious and driven and in alignment and know what they want and go after it and are busy building their own empires, because so am I. And I want to be surrounded by people like that all day long, because I never want to be the smartest in the room. I want to learn from everybody, and I want to be surrounded by people that are going to teach me something and are going to encourage me and empower me and lift me up. And I feel like I found a really great friend in Gio, this week's guest. So I'm really excited to introduce you to Gio Ingletto. She hails from Brazil, but she's from Miami. She is 23. She's a top real estate agent in Miami with her mom, RGI Realty. Everything's linked in the show notes. They have a realty company. They have a consulting company that's more design and decor. And they do so many amazing things. I think the properties they show are incredible. They have a third business, and I linked it all for you guys, and she's going to talk a little bit about it. And I'm really excited for you guys to hear this and how they're going to scale it and continue growing bigger and better in the years to come. And Gio is a big part of that. And it's cool learning about how she got into real estate and what it's like working with her mom and all the amazing things she has learned about herself along the way. So without further ado, thank you so much for listening. If you like this episode, please leave a rating and review. Please subscribe to the show. Please follow along. Share with a friend. Screenshot. Tag us as you're listening. Comment on the latest post what you liked about this episode or any of the past episodes. Please keep sending me feedback. It means so much. Thank you guys so much for listening. I will talk to you all next week. Meet Gio.
So, Gio, what's something that people wouldn't know about you just from following you?
Something they wouldn't know about me. I think I have so many interests that I don't show because now that I have the niche real estate, I tend to focus on that. So I don't like I used to have a food Instagram which has like died down now. I used to actually like have a lot of followers. Like all my other little passions, I feel like I don't really share them because I'm so focused on that. So I feel like just there's so many other parts of me that I'd love to share, but I don't get to. So I feel like all the other creative sides of me, people don't really get to see. And then I'm a super, I like to go out, but I'm also very much a homebody, love my family. And I think all of that, obviously, I don't particularly show on social media.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think there always has to be a part of us that we keep private just for ourselves because, we do share so much online and there's a lot people don't see of me as well, which is why I love asking that question to
Yeah.
everybody because it's curious. I'm always curious to see like what people choose to share and what not to share and like something
Yeah.
that, like a little secret. But I think with all the other creative endeavors and passions, like I feel the same way. Like there's so many actually somebody the other day in a Q&A asked me what I'm passionate about and I was like listing like 30 things and I was like and there's still more, like so much more and I was like
Yeah.
I just when I know that I'm passionate about something, I go all into it and it becomes like this big part of me for that season of my life. And like that's why I've had multiple passions because they change over time.
Of course, because we change
And
time.
yeah, because we grow up, we change, we evolve. So I think it's really cool that you are kind of similar. And I love meeting people like that. And I think it's important for
Yeah.
people our age, you're 23, I'm 25, like to recognize that you can have a lot of different passions and they don't have to be your job or your
100%.
career. Like
Yeah.
you, they shouldn't be like, and some people love their job and love what they do every day. You and I are people who are like that, but not everyone is meant to love their job. So you want to have passions and
Of
hobbies
course.
so you can have something to go home to or to do when you are not
100%.
at work. And I think people forget that.
Yeah, and social media is it's a great tool, so I really use it for the business part of it because it's a great way to like, of course, expose and get out there and meet. I mean, you're just broadening your audience by so much, so I really use it for that. So that's why I've like really tried to like fit everything that I post somewhat to be within my brand image, so to
Yeah.
speak, which is why sometimes, of course, you need to be personal, and I try to be personal, like by like personally putting myself in videos and stuff like that, so people really see like how I am. But I'm not like particularly sharing all of my passions on there.
Yeah.
So
And it's a hard balance to strike.
yeah,
Sometimes I want to share like the more personal, like mental health or like not so much
yeah,
TMI, but like the more personal side, like dating stories. And like that's not really the professional
yeah,
brand that I've been putting out there. And I have to be careful with that because it doesn't fit into everything else. But that's why kind of my TikTok has become like the more like chaotic version
yeah,
of my life. And then also having this podcast allows me to like do a weekly update in the intros before
totally.
the episode and kind of share like how my week is going,
Yeah,
how if I went on a date, like how'd it go? So like it's also nice having different platforms for different
for
parts
sure.
of your life. So do
And each
you
is
have
different.
yeah.
Like each platform you can express differently. So
Exactly. Yeah. Do you do anything on TikTok or is the TikTok that you have just business as well? Or do you
I do.
plan
I
to share more of the fun creative side of you or
I
you're
mean,
just
I
like
I plan of
business?
it. I think of it. I try to think of ideas of where I can share a little more. TikTok definitely more casual than Instagram, I think. So on TikTok, I do try to put like, well, even the style of the videos I feel like is a little more casual, but then I try to put some more like personal things in there too.
It's a hard balance to strike
Yeah.
too, I think, for us, especially at our age, because we're just starting our careers
Yeah.
and we're trying to become these professional versions of ourselves that we've never been. We're figuring out what that means for us. But it's like we're still young and fun and want to go out with their friends and want to like go out to the club and like take funny, crazy pictures and share that because that's fun too. But it's like, that's not the only version of ourselves anymore. We're not just going to college tailgates, you know? So I struggled with that balance. So I love talking to people that are kind of in the similar space, but you've actually been a professional a little bit longer than I have. So can you share how you got into real estate and what it is that you do with your businesses? They're all linked below, so everyone can go follow them and check them out. But can you explain a little bit about how you got into real estate and what you do?
Totally. So my mom has been in the business for like 25, like my whole life, like 23 years, let's say. So I grew up all the time, like, like going with her to a showing and like listening about it. And to be completely honest, from the beginning, I was like, I'm not doing real estate. I'm not gonna get into real estate. Like, I don't want to do what you do. Like, you work too much. And I didn't really want to do it, but I always saw, like, I grew up seeing, her do it. And then I went off to college. I went to NYU, so I lived in New York for a bit. And
So
then
fun.
I didn't know what I wanted to study, which at this age, really, I think it's really hard to know what you want to do.
Yeah, it is.
So like I didn't know, and I was like breaking my head the whole time. I was like, so what major? But whatever, and then this and that. No, but like switch majors, and then maybe a minor in this. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe I don't need to finish school. At that point, I was also trying to help my mom, trying to give her more time to be a mom with my siblings because she's a single mom. So then I was like, you know what? Why don't I give a pause at school and let me start working with you and I can start helping you. So then she was super open to it. She's like, listen, as long as you're doing something, like you're working and you're being productive, you're not going to like get out of school and do nothing. But if you're doing
My
that,
parents said the same thing so it's funny
yeah,
that, and I think it's important to recognize that college is not necessarily for everyone, but I think everybody should at least give it a shot if they can
100%. I'm not
and
telling you
try
not
it
to
out.
go. Go.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think some people don't ever need to go, but I think if you have the opportunity to go, even if it's community college, which are super valuable
Yeah.
and way more affordable, why not? And then you decide from there and don't do it because someone is making you do it because you really want to. And that goes
Yeah.
for what you major in and what you choose to do with your life too. But I digress. I
Yeah.
also had a moment of, wanting to leave school and decide, like debating like whether this was the right path for me. It came in law school for me. And my parents were like, if you want to transfer or you want to transfer home, because I went to Tennessee, or if you want to leave law school, like that's fine. We support you, but you are not going to come and do nothing. Like you're going
Yeah.
you're going to work, you're going to do something, you're gonna have like your own thing going on, maybe start a business, do whatever, but like you're not gonna just sit around at
Right.
home
You're
and
not
do
gonna,
nothing. So I think it's important to recognize, like, especially for us, like you're from Brazil, me being
yeah.
Latina, like the Hispanic culture of, where parents like they want this life for
Yeah.
you, and that your mom was like, okay, I support you, but you're
Totally.
gonna have to do something too. And I think that's a really important thing to talk about. But I just wanted to bring that
Yeah,
in.
it was like a big decision because I was like, all my friends are in school. Like nobody has really left. Like maybe like two people that I knew, like out of everyone, from high school or whatever. So I was like, am I really doing this? Am I really leaving? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, it's just in like it's telling me like I think I will be better. So whatever. So I took the break. Both of my parents were supportive, mom and dad, and they were like, listen, as long as you're doing something, fine. I eventually this was like right before COVID, so then I moved back and I was, helping my mom out, whatever. But really, when I moved back from New York and I was like back here, that's when I started to really be like immersed into the real estate, right, with her. And I really took it like, of course, I was working with her, but I really take it like it's mine. And like now we're growing this together, and now we're a team, and now we're partners. And now it's like, I look back to like how it was before, and it's just like, I don't know. It's just, I look back and that was the best decision I could have made, you know?
Yeah. It's funny growing up, you're like, I never want to do this. You work too much. But it's, you know, I
She still
think,
works too much.
I mean, I think everyone does. But I think growing up, seeing that a little part of you still was like, like that's really cool. Like being a single mom, that she works that hard, she's supporting herself, the life that she's given us. I want to give, I want to be that. So when you have the opportunity to, you're like, okay, like this isn't working for me. Let me go do this, help her out in the meantime and help figure out what I want to do. And then you realize actually like this feels right. You did it, yeah, because you saw her doing it all along, but it was more so like it felt right for you. It was a sign that that was what
Yeah,
you were meant to do all along. And it takes some time to realize, that that one, we become our parents, whether we
totally.
like it or not, and like coming to terms with that, which is a big part of being in your 20s as well. But also recognizing like the life path that you have for yourself isn't always the one that you're meant to go down. And I thought I wanted to be a corporate lawyer, big shot, New York City, DC lawyer, and I got to law school and I was like, I freaking hate this. And
Yeah,
I'm figuring it out what that means for me now. And actually, it's funny that you went into business with your mom and you built a business as a family, because something
yeah,
that my parents and I have talked about a lot is on the side starting to get into real estate investing and building either a project management company or something along those lines to really start getting into real estate and property management and owning multiple properties as a
yeah,
family, because I've always loved real estate. I've always loved interior design and decoration. And I know that you guys do that as well, like the consulting side. And that's like always been my mom too. Like when we renovated the house a couple months ago, we were like super excited to go like
so
pick
fun.
out stuff. And,
Yeah,
I'm always Pinteresting my dream house.
I
Like
know.
I genuinely love that. But that's a passion project for me. And it's a side thing. Not like you that it's your main business, but for people who kind of want to get into that, like, or or are looking for a side hustle, they're making all this money now, they want to start setting themselves up for the future, building a life for themselves and setting themselves up for later retirement. How do you get into the real estate investment side, and what does that mean? Like, what does that look like when people say real estate investing, especially in a city like Miami? Everyone now is moving down here, and that's like a big
Yeah.
topic. What does that mean?
Well, okay. Well, there's a lot of different forms of obviously real estate investing. I personally like not only do I work in obviously like the residential sales and all that stuff of real estate, but as a form of investment, I think it's one of the safest forms of investment. Obviously, like if you compare it to the stock market, which is very unstable, maybe somebody else has a stomach for that. That's not really
Yeah,
how,
no, not
in
me.
that sense, real estate's like way more stable and it's a great investment, really. So where do you start? So let's say, I mean, for someone like us that we're young, right? And sometimes people think that investing in real estate, like you need a lot of money, which I mean, sometimes you do, but if we're starting at a scale like us, like you said, we have a lot of incentives as first time home buyers. We can put up to 3% down, which is really not that much. If you look at like a property of I don't know, $300,000, then you only need to put 9,000 down. Then a little bit more for like the closing costs, but 9,000, right? So you can start saving up to that. And then the first thing I think is like, even if you're buying a property for yourself, you're already investing, you're buying an asset, you know what I mean? And then eventually you can rent it out or, you can stay there and then buy something else. And then you can like still live there. And then you're not like paying rent, you're paying towards the equity and you're paying towards your own asset, you know what I mean? So I think that's to begin with, I think that first people think that really you don't really need that much down. You can start with 3%. You know what I mean? I think that then on a bigger scale, like you said with your parents, I think you can focus and see like what kind of investing you guys would want to do because of course you can buy properties and then you can rent them out, which is one thing, which I think is great because you're getting cash flow, which is really good. And also you have a lot of other benefits because which I'll go to in a second. Right. So you can do that. But then also, of course, you can buy properties. And then some people like to build and sell. And they're in that kind of real estate investing. They're in the business of building and selling. They're not going to hold it. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to be renting it out. Or you can like some people you buy and they like to, fix it up and flip it. So there's like a few different things that you can do. Real estate though, I think you need to invest in the long term. So I like better more like holding the property and renting it out because when you think short term, you're sort of trying to time the market and you can't really time the market. I mean, you can sort of see where it's heading, but like you just never really know. I think you need to see real estate long term. In general, like rule of thumb, it's going to double in 10 years more or less. You know what I mean? So even if right now, the prices went up so much, like, whatever it was really high right now, but let's say you buy it, and then next year it goes down a little bit, and then it goes up a little, but like, slowly over time, it still goes towards an upward trend. You know what I mean? So I think it needs to be long term, number one. Obviously, then whatever you're investing in, another tip is like sort of really focus on like the location, right? So of course we're here in South Florida, but here in South Florida, like there's so many different neighborhoods and stuff. And even within those neighborhoods, make sure that you're not on a busy street or something like that, like little things, right? And of course, also not all the homework's gonna be on you. Like hire somebody, an agent, really, who's gonna help you and help guide you with all these little things that they know that they can focus on, like, just little things like that.
No, don't be shy about, shameless plug. Like, what do you guys do for that? You're an agent, brokerage,
Yeah,
you're real estate company that helps people, and then you have a consulting arm, and then you have a design arm.
we
How
do.
do services like yours help people when getting into this business?
Yeah, so we have the brokerage, right? And then because of all of our clients who would buy things and they would say, we need to, change the floor, we need to build out closets, we need to do curtains. We started doing RGI designs. And then also we've also done like actual design projects. We've like gone into that. So we also really help like fixing up a lot of stuff. For both, right? For investors and for end users, because sometimes too. And then we have RGI consulting, which is really more of like a repairs company. So it's more of like turning over properties. Like say you had a property rented out and the lease just ended and then your tenant's leaving, but he left whatever. You need to repaint it, you need to fix some stuff. So then RGI consulting, it's not really a design, that's why it's separate. We come in, we paint, we fix, and then we can list the property and everything's like in its best working condition, whether we're gonna rent it again or sell it. So that's how our three companies really go hand in hand, and they do, and they like feed
Yeah,
each
they
other.
all build on each other.
Yeah, but in terms of, I guess, going back to the investing, there are so many benefits because obviously you have the appreciation of the property over time, which is a given. Every single year you can take depreciation on your property, and then you have all those other tax benefits, really.
Can you explain a little bit about those tax benefits, primarily for people in Florida, because that's what we are, where we are, and what you guys primarily do. Are you outside of Florida at all, or are you just in South Florida?
We're primarily here in South Florida. We're also licensed in New York, although we really are more based.
The market is always going to be crazy, and there's a lot going on with that right now. But I mean, there always is, but especially right now, over the last 2 years, especially down in South Florida. But being really excited to get involved in it and seeing the value in it. Like now I see it from both sides, and it's like there's so much I want to do in this space. And what you do, I think, is so interesting and fascinating. I don't know if I would ever want to do it to that scale, but on a personal level, like to have it as my investment portfolio, that to me is so interesting and so fun. And I think it's super cool meeting people that are my age that are into it, because we hear of real estate and we hear of the big time developers, the big time
Yeah,
companies, the big families that own multi-million dollar properties and like multi-million dollars in properties all over the world, and people who have like multiple vacation homes, and like
yeah.
it's like this big, like, it's like
Well, we need to
there's
start on our own scale. We
yeah,
have to
no,
start
but I feel
small.
like there's this perception of that it's for the wealthy and that you can't get there. And it's like if you start small, buying and selling,
Sure.
flipping, just having a couple of rental properties that pay their own mortgage and that are passive income once that mortgage is paid down, that gives you so much freedom and flexibility, especially at our age when right now, you
Yeah,
know, I don't know about you, but I live at home. Like I want to buy a property and rent it out. That rental income it's paying its own mortgage, and I'm still living at home, just letting it pay for itself. So then I could use that equity if I ever want to fix it up and flip it, or I want to move in while I buy another house, and keep doing that and
yeah.
multiplying little by little. There's just so many ways, and I
There
think
are so
people
many
don't
ways.
know
Like
about that.
something also that I really like that I see like some of my friends doing like around our age is like buying like a duplex, which I think is super cool, or a triplex,
Yeah.
fourplex, whatever, and then you live in one, fix it up, whatever, and then rent out the other one. So basically, you're getting the rental income, it's paying for itself and you're like living for free, you know? And then eventually you can move out and then rent that one too, and then just keep it as
Yeah.
as an investment property. Um, and I think it's good to start off buying like a property for yourself, and then you can decide. I mean, if you're comfortable living at home, stay at home, and then you could just rent it out instead, which is honestly what I did. I bought an apartment, I was gonna move into it, and then I was like, you know what, the rents are really good. I can stay at home for a
Yeah.
little more and have it rented out, and
That's
then
why, yeah,
eventually,
that's why I was like, 5 months ago, I was like, I'm not moving out until I can buy my own property to move out. And I was like, why? I can just rent it for so much
and
more
then
right
yeah,
now,
then
live at home and save money, like literally save more
exactly.
money. And with the duplex, like there's right by my house, there's a bunch of duplex, like a whole community. And I was like, Mom, I think we were driving the other day and I was like, Mom, I think like I might just buy like one of these first, like look to see if any of these are, because I also live in a neighborhood where a lot of people are passing away. They're just older. Either like my neighborhood is turning over where there's kids that I've never seen kids in this neighborhood until the last 5 years. It's weird. There's a lot of kids now because all these houses are starting to go up for sale or being flipped because the families, the kids are taking over.
Yeah,
And it's like, these duplexes, like there's a lot that could happen here in the next 5 to 8 years. And I was like, I think this
yeah,
might be where I start, and then I can move on to getting my dream house in Coral Gables or Coconut Grove later.
yeah.
But like we can start small, we can build to get there,
Course. Like you buy something in a few years, it appreciates, and you see if you keep it rented or maybe it's a good time to sell it. Then from that, you know what I mean? And then you keep going and growing, but baby steps.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes even and I do this every day, I get like, overwhelmed too. And I'm like, oh my God, but it's just like really, it's like you don't need to have so much. Like let's start small
Yeah.
within whatever you can.
Yeah. I think it's good to have a vision and goals for yourself and like know where
100%.
you want to be, but like
Yeah.
I always have to
But
remind
also,
myself too, like, and I think you're like this, like you have to remind yourself, like okay, that like you're gonna get there, but like right
yeah.
where you are right now is good too. Focus on this moment. Like one of my intentions for this year was to be more present and in the moment, and the year's almost over, and I've been a lot better about it. There's a lot more work I could do, and like that's still going to be my intention for 2023. And I think you're like that too. It's just like
Yeah.
when I think also living in Miami, it's a very fast paced city, nowhere near as fast as New York, but like, there's just always something to do, somewhere to be, people to see, like everyone's making moves. And it's like, you want that. It's an infectious energy and you want to be a part of it. And I think you working in real estate even more so because you're seeing all these people like get these amazing properties, like the properties that you guys share on Instagram are beautiful. Like, you want that life for yourself, but it's like, no, like I'm not there yet. But like, not that I won't get there, but like I'm not there yet. And I'm okay where I am right now.
Exactly.
I always have to remind
I
myself
push
of that.
myself really hard, and of course it's great to have goals and be ambitious, but then sometimes you're like, "Wait, chill, like, I'm only 23, 25, like,
Yeah, like
it's okay, like, we're building towards it, you know?" But
eh,
it has to be a healthy balance, like,
yeah.
go after your goals, but also, be realistic, and it's okay, everybody has their timing.
Yeah. And I think we also forget that we are that young,
Yeah,
and
I do.
like there's so much life to live. There's so
I feel
much
like I'm,
ahead
like,
of us.
45 in my head or something.
Oh, same. No,
Like,
100%. Me too. But like, I was gonna say, like, look back at like 15-year-old you, and like, would
oh,
she think you would be where you are now? Like, how proud of you she would be, how far you've come since then. I,
yeah,
I actually my boy little, I was in a sorority in college, and I had a boy little, and today, like, I was Snapchatting him this morning, and he sent me a picture. I was like, oh my god, you look like he was like video chatting me, and I was like,
yeah,
oh my god, you look so grown up. Like I haven't seen you in 4 years. Like you made me
yeah,
just feel so old. And it's like, but we look how like we're talking, like the things that we're talking about now, there's the things we talked about 4 years ago. Like look how far we've come. Like I had this moment today of like, oh my god, I've come so far. I'm so proud of myself. This whole week
yeah,
I've been like feeling that and like kind of talking about that a lot on social media. And I feel like we forget that, you know, we've come a really long way to get to where we are right now. Like it's okay to enjoy it. You know,
yes.
like you said, you thought growing up, like I would never do what my mom does. I want no part in this. And like, look at you now, and you and your mom are working together. What's it like being a mother-daughter duo and building a company together with her, using her expertise, but kind of,
Yeah,
your whole thing is a modern take on real estate. And
Yeah.
is that because you've come in, or is that like you guys together? Like, what's that dynamic of working with your mom?
Well, we're really, I mean, she's been doing it for so long, but she was always sort of like very small and very like boutique. And now I'm here, I'm like, no, 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 like we need to grow. Let's expand. So your word this year was to be present. My word this year was expansion. So I was like, we need to grow. And of course, like, I mean, although she's pretty young, I'm young. So it's just sort of like that different perspective and take. And of course now it's like, all these things on social media. So I'm like super forward on the marketing, but then she's, so it's like we complement each other really well. And I think that's really important when you're working with family. Like instead of trying to make your kid, well, yeah, usually it's like, the parent trying to make the child more like how they are. And I'm not going to say I'm not more like her because I'm very much like her because we
I
spend
feel
a
this.
lot of time together. But at the same time, like she's not forcing me to be her. Like she acknowledges that I am different and I have different strengths and she has different strengths. So like tap into those strengths and maybe you're more like this and you're more like this. And then how can we really bring that together? But don't expect me to be like just like you because that's just not gonna work, you know? I remember once when I was leaving school in New York and somebody was like, but you need to work for like a real boss, like somebody who's gonna like yell at you and make you cry and be hard on you. And I was like, you haven't met my mom. I think I cry more than like it's
Well,
like
so
I cry, I do all that.
two things to that. So one, I've always said that no one roasts you more than your own mother, and my mom is listening to this right now, by the way. 100%. She agrees. I don't know if you heard her. She said 100%. Um, like no one literally will roast you worse than your own mom. So
No.
like no boss, I'm sorry, no boss is gonna do anything to me that my mom already hasn't done. But also,
Yeah.
I hate when people are like, you have to suffer just as much as I did. Like you have to have a horrible boss to know what it's like. And it's like, no, like why can't I have it good from the beginning? Like
And you
there's so,
can.
and you can, and like that old mentality drives me nuts. And that's part of why law school and like big law never appealed to
Yeah.
me, because it's like, no, like I'm gonna go off on my own and do it my way. And it's gonna be a lot harder, but it's gonna be a lot more rewarding and I'm gonna enjoy it a lot more. And I think, you could say the same. And it's like, yeah, working with my mom is gonna have a lot of challenges, sure. But this feels right for me right now. And who cares if it's not the path that everybody says you should go down,
It's
because it's
not.
not their path, it's yours.
Exactly, but that always stuck to me because I was like, how funny, because on the contrary, if anything, she's going to be way tougher than some guy or girl, whatever, who doesn't really care about me. You know what I mean? If anything, she really does care and really wants to like make sure that I whatever do it right, if anything, you know what I mean? Because if anything, she has way more of my best interest than maybe someone else would, you know? So it's not I'm not gonna say it's not easy because it's pretty easy. I think we work pretty well together and we've learned how to, work with each other. Like I know her super well. She knows me super well. Like I already anticipate what she's gonna say before she says it. I'm like, I already know what you're thinking. Don't even tell me. Like I got it. So I think in that sense, like we almost like read each other's minds. But we've also had to like it seems like the work almost doesn't stop though, because we're just always talking about work because we both really like what we're doing and then we're busy and then we're just like we'll finish at like 8 p.m., 8:30, we'll be sitting on the couch and it's like dinner. It's like and I'm like, I need to go home. Like, and it's just like
At least you moved out now and you have that
I just moved
separation.
out.
Okay, you
I
just.
just moved out in August. So I was living with her and then it was just like there's no end to the day. So now it's a little more concrete the end because I'm like, I actually have to go. Like I need to cook dinner. Um but it's good to we have to we respect each other and we do sort of create those boundaries, although we do like to talk about work a lot, but it's not because we have lack of boundaries, we just like it. But then sometimes we're like, okay, no, enough is enough, like it's it.
Yeah.
So I think you do, like if you're working with family, you need to have respect for each other and set those boundaries. And like I said, I think it's really important to know each other's strengths and really try to tap into both of them and see how you can be even better together rather than trying to make one be more like the other. you
Yeah, I
know?
think that's so valuable and really important too. And I think why you guys complement each other, you when starting a business, like for me, I'm looking at hiring interns right now. And my thing is, you know, I actually was telling my parents this last night. Like, I want to be the dumbest in the room sometimes. I
Yeah,
want you to teach me. I want you to show me. I want to hire for my weaknesses. And then I will teach you my strengths so that
yeah,
there are your weaknesses. And we will build a team like that together. That is how a team
100%.
will grow and work well together because everybody's necessary. But if everyone is doing the exact same thing, then that's where that competition it comes in, and that's why it gets unhealthy, and that's why partnerships don't work out. And I think it's important that you guys recognize you are very similar, but you have key differences, and they complement each other, and that's why you
Yeah.
guys work so well together. And it's super super important in family businesses, but I think that goes for building any business, any team. What has it been like, your word was expansion, growing a team? I saw that recently you guys have now like 4 or 5 people in your team. Like,
Yeah.
what has that been like, building a team and, letting the business really take off and grow? Because now I feel like this is the first year since COVID that we've really, like,
Yeah.
the real estate has, especially in Miami, has grown so much. And I feel like now you're stepping out of that like uncertainty, and you can really
Yeah.
let them figure it out and let the business expand on its own. So what has that been like?
So we're like what? We're like our whole group, I think, is like 12 or 13 or something. So we've been like slowly growing, not only the agents, but like also like the marketing team has grown. Like before we only had one person, now we have like four, like on our team basically. Although, sometimes I have a goal. I'm like, I want X amount of people to be working with us. But also, what's more important to us is really like making sure that the people who are working with us vibe with us. I think that's
So important.
honestly very important because you can learn, and also like a lot like agents, most know like what they're doing, or if anything they can learn, but it's more importantly like, do you align
Personality.
with our values? We're trying to cultivate a culture within our GI that's like positive and happy, and it's teamwork, and we're not competing against each other, because although we're all agents, it's funny because it's like, we could all want, the same listings. If anything, it's something where you are competing with other people, but also working with other people, because you also need to make the deals work with them. But it's just like here, we're not competing. We don't have any competition. Everybody's always happy for each other. Everybody's always rooting for each other, and it really does feel like a teamwork. You know what I mean? And it feels like a little family. So for me, we've been growing slower than I anticipated, but so much stronger, you know what I mean? And everybody's so solid, and everybody's so happy to be part of the team, and everybody's so grateful, and we're so grateful for them, and that to me is like the best. Like I don't want to have 30 agents or 30 people, whatever, that are just like not on that vibe.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think personality fit and alignment is so important. And it's funny that you said that because I've kind of been in the last 2 years, but really the last year, cultivating my people, my environment, my surroundings, who I want to be around, because the energy
It's
around you it makes up your energy. They say you're the sum of the 5 people closest to you. You
Yeah,
really are. And I only want to be around people who are aligned and with themselves. They're evolving, they're growing, they are self-aware, they look inward, they hold themselves accountable. They want the best for themselves and the people around them, and they're constantly working towards that. And
yeah,
so in the same, like, that's in my personal life, but then also in my team, I want to make sure that, you know, we're also on that level because, I can, again, hiring for your weaknesses, knowing, delegating, building a team, you need to be able to be honest with them, even if it's not such a fun conversation. And, making sure that they're not going to resent you for it, or the way
yeah.
that you say it or the way that they come across isn't hostile or mean. It's complimentary and wanting the best for you. And I think, it's really important to have that respect and that the personalities go together, because if you don't, it's not fun to go into work every day. And especially for you guys, it is a family company, it's a small team. You guys
It
are
is.
working really hands on with each other. You're in each other's personal spaces often. Like, That's so, so important. So I'm really glad you brought that up because that's something
Yeah,
I
it's
talk about.
because I feel like, we're very small and you're also starting off. So we're really starting from like the ground up. So might as well, like plant those seeds so the trees grow straight. You know what I mean? Like we're not like in a big company where there's a lot of whatever. Like we can choose really who we're working with.
Yeah, you want to pick and choose. And like, I love that. Plant the seeds so the trees go straight because as you grow, those are the people training the next people. And you want
Yeah.
them to be good seeds as well. And it's going to just
People
keep
that you
going
can
outward.
trust, you know what I mean? That trust is also super important. So I think that to me is really important, but we've been growing, and to us, honestly, it's just more getting more people like that. If you're on that vibe, 100% welcome, come, you know?
Yeah.
But if
If
not, there's 100 other places and maybe that align
everyone's a
you.
realtor nowadays. There's a company on every corner. Like you'll be fine. But
Yeah.
yeah, for people who want to get into real estate and as an agent and be in the business, what are some really good qualities of like the not necessarily like not like to go get a job with you, but like what do you look for in agents, like the people you like working with, whether it's across another brokerage or if you're co-listing with somebody or in the community in your network, like what are the types of things you think make a good agent and a good broker?
I think somebody who's honest and transparent, because we're here, whether we're working a deal together or you're working with us, like we need to be honest. Like we're not trying to, like, you know what I mean? And also communicative, somebody who, okay, so if I'm working with another agent on a deal or something like that, or I guess even if they're not working a deal, but they're going to work with us, it's just like, how are you going to handle something? Because every single real estate transaction, every transaction is different, completely different. So I think that if you're honest and transparent and then you communicate, like with your clients or with your coworkers or whatever, I think that's super important. And I think like a really hard work, like be a hard worker, you know what I mean? Because it's not easy. Like you have to be like a go-getter in real estate, because people don't just like come and like sit on, like come knocking on your door like, will you list my property or will you please represent
No,
me?
yeah, you have to put yourself out there.
So
And
it's like you need to put yourself out there. You need to have a good work ethic. It's also something where like real estate is very flexible in the sense that we don't have, a set schedule. It's not a 9 to 5. But I think that like I create structure in my own day because I have to, because if not, like it's just like,
oh, I'm the same way. Yeah.
so it's like you need to have a good work ethic. So it's like you can sit around and like really achieve nothing all day because maybe you have nothing to show and whatever, you know what I mean? So you have to always constantly be going after the next thing. So I think you have to be, hardworking, like a go-getter, be out there, communicate. And I just think being honest is really important because I mean that's the way that I like to do business, you know what I mean? So if somebody's looking to work with me or whatever, obviously I can't control somebody who's, you know, whatever. But if you're gonna be working with me, I think somebody who's honest and transparent is really important. Which goes back to trust, right? If you're working with me, I need to be able to
Yeah,
trust you. I don't know. I sort of answered
absolutely.
like if I'm working with someone else and somebody working with me, but I
No,
think
I
those are
think
really
no, I
like
think
mix
that's
them up.
great. Yeah. I mean, it's like the thing is like people like I think also, which I wanted to ask you about this, like shows like Selling Sunset and like that, like they make it look like it's like one way. And like that is not necessarily what real estate is really like. It can be really collaborative and it seems
It
like
is super
that's more the
collaborative.
vibe that you guys have than competition. And it's, you know, you are working together really closely. You are working with agents from other brokerages as well. Sometimes you're meeting all the people, you're all like running to each other in a property. Like, you want to make sure that you come across respectful and honest and trustworthy and you have a good reputation in the community. So it makes sense you want to surround yourself with people like that internally in your team as well. So it makes sense, like people who work with you and the people you want to work with. That makes total sense. But yeah, can
100%.
you share a little bit of what like has that affected you guys at all? Like when those shows started blowing up and Selling Tampa, and I think
I mean,
there's gonna be a
I think
Miami show now. I don't know, like
I think there is. I think that people think when they see those shows, especially, I mean, they're entertaining, they're fun and
they're made
whatever.
for TV, they're drama. They're not
But
supposed to be
they're
about the
reality
property.
TV shows for a reason, you know? So I think that when people see that, they think that real estate is really easy. And I honestly think that sometimes even when I post things, like maybe people think it's easy, but it's really not. It's a lot of hard work. You know what I mean? Like it's not easy to get a client, you know what I mean? And for them to trust you. And it's like something that I like deal with a lot is that people think I'm young. I look young. People literally think I'm 16, you
I
know?
get that too. Yeah.
So then it's like, people are like, "Oh my God, you look so young, whatever. It's so easy." But it's really not. So I think those shows, I mean, they don't really portray like all the actual work that goes behind like the whole process of like getting a client and then like just every single little detail to close a deal. There's like so many parts that are just like never spoken about in those shows, I think. But I mean, and the thing is, it is easy to get into real estate. I mean, really, to get your license is not difficult. Like, you can get it. Like, I got my license between here and New York, both within like a month. Like if you just sit down, do the course for 2 weeks, pass the state exam, like you can pass it. It's really easy. There's no barriers to get into real estate. You don't need a degree or anything. So that's why a lot of people get into it. But then to really do well, it's really hard. But that's what I like, that although there's no barriers to get in, there's also no limit as to how much you can do. You
Yeah.
sell as much and as little as you want,
Yeah.
like as
It's a business that you could
from
really make your own. I love that.
500,000 to 50 million, you can sell literally whatever. There's no limit. There's nobody stopping you. So that's what excites me about real estate. But I think people think it's a lot easier than it is,
Yeah. I
especially in
agree.
this market too that was so good. Like everybody was moving here and everybody was like loving South Florida. I mean, we've been here, but everybody was really
Oh,
loving it
that's a
last
whole other
2 weeks,
conversation.
2 weeks. I mean, 2 years, and like just everything was selling. So it also made it. I don't want to say easier, but for maybe people get it. Like a lot of people did get into the business during these last few years because everything was selling. But then you hit a bumpy road and then the market's not so good. And then that's when you have to have a lot of other things going on to be juggling all these different balls and lots of different clients because you know what I mean? Like it's a lot more than what the shows show.
Yeah. How do you think it has changed you or affected you as a person? I'm sure it's made you grow up and it's made you a lot more responsible and
What
all
real
of that. But just working in real estate, yeah, like being a business owner and putting yourself out there now, how do you think as a person it has affected you in like your personal development and personal growth? Because, like me, like we're all just trying to figure it out. We're trying to build
Yeah.
these businesses and build our professional lives. So we're also just trying to, you know, make it day by day. So how do you think it's affected you?
I mean, I definitely, if you were to have seen me 3 years ago, like when I was deciding to leave school to now, I think I'm like a complete different person.
Oh, I've changed a
Mm,
lot in 3 years too,
I
don't.
mean, just like from my day-to-day structure, I'm way more disciplined. I'm more confident, when you're doing something and then you actually start getting good at it and then you actually start I feel now like way more I feel established. Like people know me now, I think, when I'm working with them, like I feel that, and that brings confidence. So I have gained so much more self confidence, more discipline. I'm way more structured. Obviously, this came with a lot of hard work. It's not like it came from one day to the next that I was like super structured. And I still deal with like, I don't want to wake up in the morning and work out. Like, I still need to be like
Oh, same.
consistent. I think I'm more creative and I'm thinking of ways of like how to like, share with the team and how we can grow and like what else should we do like be doing on social. So I'm thinking like way more like big picture about one thing now rather than before I was just like I don't know what I'm thinking at all. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
I agree with all of that. I think that's why I love asking that question, because I think until we take time to really reflect on how far we've come and how much we've accomplished and changed and celebrating those small wins, we forget to do that because there's always so much to do and it's so go, go, go. But when you take back a
yeah,
step back and you look at who you are now and you're like, wow, like I'm a lot nicer. I'm a lot more confident. I'm a lot more, you know, my, like you said,
communicative.
disciplined, decisive. I know what I want now. I know what I deserve. I'm really proud of myself that I found something that I love. Like it's a really cool feeling to look back and be like, wow, like I've made it this far. And like there's so much
Yeah,
more I want to do, but I'm really proud of who I am now, like I was saying earlier. And
yeah.
if you would have met me 3 years ago, I was a completely different person too. I was honestly not a great person. I was
I don't think I was the best either.
I wasn't. And it took a really rough 3 years in law school to figure myself out before I was ready to come back to Miami. And, I'm working on establishing my career and, building my brand and building my business. But it's really cool when people are like, oh, like, yeah, I follow you and I love your content, or I see this and I love what you're doing, and getting to have these conversations on the podcast with other people like that. And, you reaching out to be on my podcast, it's a testament to my growth, and that I've built something really, and I'm becoming established too. And I think that's a really great feeling. And my confidence has gone up extremely too, and not in a cocky way, but just like I know who I am and I'm proud of it. And like, I'm going to go after what I want because I deserve it and I can. And like, it comes across in a different way. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And I think one really interesting thing that I always say, like, to myself, is that also within my job, I've realized like how much I really enjoy people. Like, I really enjoy talking to people and being social. Like, my favorite part of my job is really meeting with the clients, and when you connect with them and you talk to them and you're just like they're really happy that they're like whatever sold their house, or they're buying a house, or designing their house with us, whatever. Like, it's just so nice to really connect with people, talk to them. That's one of my favorite. Like, when I get out of a client meeting and it went so well, like, that to me is the most fulfilling thing. And I think before I probably didn't care too much about it, but it's something that I've also really realized, that I really do love talking and connecting with people. That's my favorite part of it all. That's another thing I've learned about myself.
That's a good one. I've learned that about myself, and that's what allowed me to have the podcast and have so many guests on. But it's
Yeah.
just fulfilled me in ways I didn't even know I needed to be fulfilled, getting to have these conversations. So I love that. And I think, I don't know, it's like a breath of fresh air getting to have these conversations with people in a similar place in their life as me. You're a
Yeah.
little bit more established career wise, but figuring it all out and
But I
having
think,
someone that I can bounce off of, and that, you know, I can look to for inspiration and advice when I need it. And, like and to have people in your life that are also going through it with you. Like, it's really nice. Cause I
yeah.
think this is the time in our life where everyone for the first time ever is going off in their own path. And it's like, you're not speaking to your friends, your childhood best friends, like every day anymore, because you're all in different time
Yeah.
zones or different schedules or different lifestyles. And like everyone, some people are getting married and having kids, some people are working 24/7, some people are still in school for another 5 years. Like, everyone's on their own path, but building relationships with people that are on the same path as you it's a I don't know what the word is, but it's like, I don't want to say it's like a really cool thing, but it is. But like, there has to be a better way, like a more like adult way of saying that. I don't know, but like, I don't know. I just think it's really special to be cultivating that. I
Yeah.
think.
No, and to know that people are really on the same boat, and we don't even know each other, but it's like we really are, and there's a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's really interesting. It's really cool. There's a lot of us like adversities of just being, young. And it could be, intimidating having to deal with also a lot of like older
Or
people,
them talking down to
men
you,
in
or like, oh, you're
particular,
just
speaking down on
16,
you.
like thinking
That's a
you look
huge thing I
16.
deal with, and that doesn't make me
Oh,
very happy.
I deal with it all the time. And as a lawyer, I know I'm going to deal with it
I
even
deal with
more.
attorneys all the time in real estate transactions, and they're not always the nicest.
Oh, I literally, yeah, I had something happen yesterday, and then I had a client earlier the day that was like, "You're the attorney? Like, that's amazing. You're so young. Like, I can't, like, an older like Cuban woman, like, she was
Yeah.
like, I wish you all the best. So like, so many blessings. This is incredible." And I was like, it's so nice when they like
Nice.
appreciate your hustle. Like,
Yes.
that's so cool, because sometimes you just get like this other side and it's so not fun. But yeah, there's a lot
I
of
think
adversities we face as mid-20s women, especially
yeah.
in the workforce, that it's, really cool to know that you're building something on your own terms and you're proud of it and you're showing up as you, and the people who get that are going to be a part of it, and the people who don't,
Yeah.
I'll hold the door open for you. Like, okay, bye.
I mean, everything that happens, it's just building character and making you
Yeah.
stronger, so it just bounces off, and then you're like, whatever,
Like my mom always says, bañate con vaselina,
Yeah,
like wash yourself with Vaseline so everything rubs off of you. And
yeah.
I used to be like, no, like I'm not gonna let people treat me like that. And like there's still moments like that, but it's like also I'm like, you know what, it's not worth it.
Not worth it, and then you start like, whatever, and then you just start to like, I think, not to take it personally or emotionally or answer in a defensive, which is what I would have done, and then
Oh,
sometimes
same.
like my mom will remind me, she's like, "No, no, no, don't engage, don't, whatever," like, just which is hard sometimes because it
It's
can be
really hard. And sometimes it's warranted and other times you have to just, bite your tongue and it sucks. But
yeah,
it's really rewarding when you look back and are like, you know what, I've done it all on my own and all the people said I couldn't, and like here I am, so who cares? And that's kind of, I think, where we're both at in our lives.
yeah.
And it's a really cool place to be. What's your last like piece of advice? Like what's the best piece of advice you've ever been told, whether it's personal, career, relationships, like as a mid-20s girl, like advice to someone who's kind of in this stage of their life as well? What's the best piece of advice you have for them?
I think most importantly, dude, I don't think anyone cares really anything. Don't really care what people think. I think that if I were to tell like my younger self something, it's like really don't focus, don't care about like what other people think, and really focus on what makes you happy and like loving yourself so that you feel confident in yourself. And I think that's like a great start. Don't focus on the outside noise, focus on yourself, loving yourself. And I think from there, like you have a strong base.
Yeah, I agree. What are some of the ways that you work on your self-love, like routines, like favorite, like, self-care ritual? Like what is your favorite thing to do to, take a step back from work and social media and like craziness of life and like really like give to yourself?
I mean, I think I spend time by myself is really good for me. That like, going on a walk, listening to some music, spending time alone. And honestly, like I journal, like whatever thoughts I have, if I put it down, like, whatever about my feelings or about like things that I have. To me, that's like a moment when I'm alone, breath of fresh air, nobody else around, come back to myself, reflect, like you say. I think reflecting, and when you like give that time for yourself to be like, oh, okay, no, you're right, I've been this far. No, but like you're doing great. Like honestly, like talk to yourself.
Oh,
Like,
same. I do
you're
too.
doing great. You're killing it. Whatever. Like you're doing awesome. And like remind myself that I really am doing awesome, because in the day to day, you can get so caught up like, oh, that was so stupid. I did that, whatever. And then like, oh, and then this guy's annoying. And then this, whatever. And then the deal's falling through. And then it's like, wait, no, like I'm doing great. Like
Yeah.
this is just a bad day or whatever. Or even if it's a good day, you're doing so great. Take a time. I really just try to take a time for myself. I like to go for walks, connect with nature, and just like come back to my center, be in my thoughts, sometimes journal them out. That's how I reconnect to myself, you know?
Yeah. I think that's super important. You said earlier, like you love going out with your friends, boyfriend, family, fun, but then also like you are a homebody, you like your alone time. And I am 100% the same way. And literally,
Yeah.
I stayed up all night last night till 3:30 in the morning reading because I just needed that for myself.
Yeah.
And like I cried, I bawled my eyes out, but it was like I needed that release and I didn't even know I needed it. And it was like and this morning, like I had a slow morning, continuing to take that time
Yeah.
for myself, and then now I get to come on and have these
Yeah.
calls and meetings, and it's like fulfilling me in a way that I didn't know I needed. And I always say, like, for you, journaling, for me, therapy is the mic, like being on a mic and my podcast and having these conversations. So we each all do it in different ways, but yeah, taking that time to really reflect and be proud of how far we've come. I think
Yeah.
especially this young, because there's so much more ahead of us, but we've already accomplished so much. Like
It
it's
really,
okay to stop and enjoy that moment because, you know, I think,
and it's so easy to put pressure on yourself and say like, oh, I could have done this and I should have done that and I need to do this and I need to do that, and then get so caught up in it. But like, why stress yourself? There's
yeah,
enough stress and craziness. So you just need to like find your balance so that you
yeah,
can remain sane.
yeah. No, couldn't have said it better. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Where could everybody find you? Pimp yourself out, all of the like different companies. I'll link everything so they can
Oh,
follow it.
you can find us at, well, the same username throughout, I guess, pretty much all social media. So for RGI Realty, that's the brokerage, RGI_designs for the design, RGI Consulting for that. And me, I'm just Gio Ingletto.
Perfect. I'll link everything below. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
So much, Kayla.